Welcome back, everybody. My name is Joseph Igo, and today we are breaking down the two wrecks that decided the Daytona 500. We're not going to include the Ryan Preece, I guess, involve Christopher Bell in that as well. We're not involving the whole Ryan Preece flip. We're going to do a whole separate video on that. But today we're discussing and breaking down the two wrecks that I believe, and probably everybody believes, decided this Daytona 500. Those being the Ricky Stenhouse and Joey Logano collision, and then the last lap one, which was between a bunch of drivers. We're going to get into who I think caused that and everything. So, yeah, let's get on into this. So, there's a lot of talk online as to, who's at fault, Ricky Stenhouse or Joey Logano. In this crash, you end up taking out, I believe it was Stenhouse, Logano. They take both of them out. Blaney, who gets taken out but stays in the race. Kyle Busch is out. I believe Noah Gragson was out, and then I think Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski get caught up in it, but I don't think they get wrecked to finish the race. Or I think they ended up finishing the race. I don't think they wrecked out, but they did make some contact. So obviously here's Logano, and then here's Stenhouse. We're going to roll this here for a sec. All right, so you see he's getting the run, and he sees that this hole's going to open up here between Stenhouse and Blaney. He's going to take that, and then Stenhouse is going to come down and block this, obviously very late. All right, so see here, first importantly, here's the first thing we got to notice. See this right here where my cursor is moving? Those flames coming out of the pipe means he's out of the gas. So he's essentially, what that means is he's going to let Stenhouse have the position essentially. So he comes down, they make contact, okay. Gets Stenhouse a little loose, whatever. Roll this for a sec. And then, I don't know if, let's roll this back one more. So you see that. You see the flames end up coming out of here on Noah Gregson's car. You see the flames come out of the pipe on the 43 of Eric Jones, and then you even see it as far back as, I believe, Cole Custer here. So you see Stenhouse then goes back up to the high side briefly as they're coming out of the turn, comes back down into Logano, who appears to be still giving him some space. But first off, when you cut somebody off, make some contact, and then appear to go the other way, I feel like you almost have the right to, get back in the gas if you're Joey Logano. Obviously, it's a risky move, but every move on a super speedway is risky. But anyways, so they're coming through here. Stenhouse does a good job of holding his line, but you see the big important thing is here, because Logano gets slowed up and has to check up to avoid wrecking Stenhouse the first time, that ends up stacking up these cars here in the middle lane. So you have Gragson in the 4 behind him, 43 of Jones. They're already stacked up. And then you'll see here. So hold on. We're going to roll this first. Watch what happens to these cars first off. From Gragson through Bubba Wallace here. So they're stacked, obviously wreck. So him alone lifting off just that one time already stacked it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars back. So my point being here is that, yes, Logano is the one who ends up inevitably turning Stenhouse, but is it really his fault? And if he had done what he would have needed to do to avoid Stenhouse, he would have, this wreck would have ended up happening further back in the field. It would have been either probably Suarez, Wallace, maybe even Cole Custer. One of those 3 is going to get spun out if Logano had slammed the brakes even harder again just after he did. So, and then, hold on, let's roll this back. Okay, so he comes to the outside, Stenhouse does. He starts coming back down, and then this is an important one. I saw some people mentioning this online. So before Stenhouse makes his second move down, which there's a move before that we're going to get into, but he moves down into Busch because Stenhouse is like halfway in his lane but not doing anything, and he's just kind of sitting there he's just like a traffic cone essentially. And I'm not saying that like Logano knows like what I just said about how they stacked up, and regardless, there was going to be a wreck. He knows, hey, if Stenhouse remains in this lane, I'm gonna have to check up again, and we're gonna cause a wreck further back in the field. So he's like, okay, well, I do have a little bit of an open space here between Blaney and Stenhouse, and it's a dangerous move. Like, it's obviously a dangerous move, but here, let's roll this more. So he gets into the side of Busch there, comes back into line, seemingly with enough room, it appears, and then you're going to see Stenhouse go back into this, middle-ish, or this non-existent line here. What Stenhouse should have done is, when he realized, first off, from the second he threw the late block on Logano, he should have been getting back up in that upper lane. He doesn't, but you'll see here he goes, so he gets whatever you would call that after that weird move from Logano. Then you see Stenhouse gets pushed back out here, and then he just starts turning into him, and then it's just all hell breaks loose. I don't know. I see a lot of people online blaming Logano, and I'm not saying Logano is fully out of this. Like, obviously he played a part in this. Like, I'm not saying he didn't. But my point is more so that I'm putting the blame on Stenhouse because it was, the late block, and then he was just so indecisive here. Like, okay, so right here, why, like what you're seeing right here, why does Stenhouse then come back into Logano's lane? Like, he's obviously clear. And then he just starts moving down. What is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? So, I don't know. Like, I'm putting the blame on Ricky Stenhouse on this. Look, Logano's done plenty of stupid stuff in his career. I'm not even saying he's perfect or in the fully in the clear here, but I'm going at least 70-30 in terms of 70% this being Stenhouse's fault. I'd even probably go a little bit higher. So, what probably should have happened here is Stenhouse keeps in this middle lane and inevitably falls back because of his he decided not to go back to that upper lane. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm personally putting this one on Stenhouse. But that's all we'll talk about with that one. Now this one's a lot more interesting. The first time I looked back at this, I thought the Logano one was going to be a little more not entertaining, but a little more interesting to break down. This one is more interesting to break down, and I don't think I've heard anybody, breaking this one down and diagnosing who made the, I guess, what would you call it? The move that ended everything. I'm going to tell you right here, I think the person who deserves the blame here, and I don't want to say it's not a bad thing. Like, I'm not trying to get on Chase Briscoe, but I think Chase Briscoe is the one who caused this wreck. So we're going to play this here. All right, so first off, we got to stop it here. The most established line by far is this middle line here you have Custer. Well, so first off, you have Cindric and Hamlin all alone in the front. Then you have Cole Custer. You have Chase Briscoe, William Byron, and you have Tyler Reddick. And then even behind him, you have Jimmy Johnson. So watch how this lane, garner or generates its run, which it inevitably puts on Hamlin, and then obviously you see what happens. But first off, just watch these 5 cars and watch how they, you'll see Custer gets out a little bit ahead, but then he comes back in, he backs back up to the 19 to build that run to get on Hamlin on the backstretch. All right, so you see he gets that distance Custer does in the front on that middle lane. He backs it back up to the 19. And then he backs it up. So right here. The only lane, like, you can make the argument that this lane on the bottom has a good run, but even then, like, you never had any push from back here, like from Blaney or whoever these cars are. I don't know who those cars are. They weren't pushing them off the corner. Like, Johnson's not connected here, and neither is Allgaier, but there was so much more momentum built up on this middle line here that by far and away the best run was going to be coming from that middle line. And even then, like, these two obviously get linked, Custer and the 19 of Briscoe. And then you get Byron and Tyler Reddick get connected, and then they like watch the shove that the 41 of Custer gets approaching Hamlin. And then another thing we have to watch here is watch here. So the front car on the lower line is Corey LaJoie. He gets a little squirrely here as Custer and Briscoe are approaching Hamlin, and watch, he gets a little squirrely, slides it towards Custer, and at the same time, then Custer makes the move to the outside. So it's tough because what I think happened here, what I think happened is the 19, and we're going to talk more about the 19 after he gets shoved up, the 41. All right, so watch here. Okay, so you see here, he gets pushed sideways, and right after that, this car is going to go up here. But it's baffling because it almost feels like the side draft also went off of the 19, which I don't know, because it almost appeared like the 19 wanted to follow Custer up there into that top lane, but he didn't. And then, but the important thing is you have to watch what the 19 does. The 19 appears like he's going to go there and then just barrels right into his teammate, the 11 of Hamlin. So watch. Side draft, sends Custer to the outside. We're going to roll that one more time. Side draft, Custer to the outside, and then Briscoe just goes barreling into Hamlin. So, all right. So right here, I mean, even the 41's getting loose as he goes to the outside lane. He's getting a monster shove from these cars in this back three here. And it's tough to know, who was doing the most aggressive push here. It's for you guys to decide, but when I see this huge shove that the 19, I mean, that is a terrible shove. I mean, look at how loose it gets the 11. It sends the 11 down into that bottom lane into Austin Cindric. Like, the thing that baffled me, so I was listening to Denny Hamlin's podcast earlier, and Hamlin's putting all the blame on Custer, and I'm sure he's watched it back 1,000 times. He'll probably disagree with me if he sees this. Who cares? But the 41 doesn't even make contact with Hamlin until the 19 spins him out. Like, I watch here. Like, the 19, he gets this huge run on Hamlin, shoves him. Hamlin was, like, look at, the first car the 41 makes contact with is the 19. It's not the 11. Like, the 11 shouldn't, I mean, I'm not, it's, you don't want to say the 11 should not have been there, but for the move that Custer made, the 11 wouldn't have been there and shouldn't have been there. And I don't know. It's a tough one because when he makes the move, the person that turns Custer is the 19. So it's a tough one, and I get it. Like, we could either be blaming, I mean, a lot of the blame seems to be going to Custer, which, I mean, say what you want. Yeah, he was the one who makes the aggressive move on Hamlin, but there's a lot more nuance that goes into it. Could you be blaming LaJoie here in the 01 car? It's a tough sell. I mean, it's super speedway racing. It's just, you can't really blame him for that. And he doesn't even make contact with either the 19 or the 41. So I don't know. I mean, just look at, like, when I just watch this back, I mean, the 19 is giving a monster shove to the 41 and then gets a huge run by himself into the 11. And I don't know, man. I can't, I'm not blaming Custer on this one. I'm blaming the 19. I'm blaming Chase Briscoe. Another thing, oh wait, I never even realized that. Hold on, let me see this. It definitely does not cause the wreck, but the air off the 24 car here does not do the 19 car any favors either. Right here. I mean, I'd even argue maybe there was some contact. And then that sends the 19 into them, and then, yeah, whatever. I mean, I see why people would be quick to blame Custer, but I think a lot was going down there. I didn't see what Custer had to say after the race, but yeah, I don't know. It's such a complicated situation. Everybody's got their own agenda. Everybody's got their, I mean, as far as, critics are concerned, everybody's got their favorites and their least favorites. So I don't know. And I just want to play this one more time. So you see right here with Hamlin looking like he's going to barrel right into our eventual Daytona 500 back-to-back champion, William Byron, or even maybe the car he owns, Denny Hamlin, that is Tyler Reddick here, both of whom made it out barely. He does make some contact with the 11 or with the 45 there. The 11 does. But also, I mean, just think about it. So if he makes contact with, if Hamlin runs into Byron and holds up the 45, look who comes out. We're talking about probably a Chase Briscoe winning the Daytona 500 from the pole. So, and it's crazy. And you're probably looking at a Jimmy Johnson. If these two get tangled up with Hamlin, we're talking about a Chase Briscoe Daytona 500 win from the pole and a second place finish from Jimmy Johnson. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So it's pretty nuts. But that's all I have for you guys today. I just wanted to break these down because I saw all the reaction online and I felt that I had a lot to say on the matter. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know down in the comments below. I could be totally missing this, but I think I see what I see, and that's that. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and y'all have a good one. Take care. God bless.